Hey guys, early TV convention 2025, here we come. I've got the Garod all loaded up and packed in. It's filled nearly every square inch of my vehicle because I use loads of moving blankets, want to protect everything very well. Got the chassis riding shotgun next to me here in the front seat. Alright, let's get the show on the road. I will pick up when I arrive. Well, arrived in one piece. Weather's not supposed to be the greatest, so we'll see how it goes, but we can certainly unload this, so it's not raining yet, and start putting it together, and then there's all kinds of activities inside. It just kind of cuts back on the outside swap meet.
Yeah, where are we?
We finished unloading everything, and we were able to get all the skirt leg pieces put on, and scouted around and found a strap, tightened down, waiting for the glue to set up, which shouldn't take too long, and then we'll flip it over, start putting everything together. And one regret I have is I didn't get some new metal feet. I think I might have one or two I salvaged. Well, maybe I have all four. Maybe I have all four. I actually saved every bit and piece I took out of this set. Thought they might want to include it in a display, so all the caps I took out are in here.
No, I think anybody would miss that. That's what it used to be. Right now he's only got a 78.
Flip the cabinet over. Figure the weight of the cabinet itself will help the glue set up. Threw the amp in, we hook up the chassis and threw on a record, and we've got it playing while we wait for glue to set up. Starting to put the bezel back in.
I got one.
So far, so good. Oh, and dug up a 16 LP4. Tuss really good. Looks like it's a rebuild and never been used. The gun looks brand new inside, so this is what we're going to go with. Here we are, Friday morning. A lot more people here now. Just taking another look through the CRT rebuilding stations. I don't know. Because the big question is, or one of the questions is, does any of this stuff work? It's just been sitting here. Some of it was used some years ago, but I don't know if we could just, I gotta know if there's any gas in those cylinders for doing glass blowing in the various operations. More questions than answers at this point.
So my friend lives in Warrenton, Virginia. He's an avid hunter, but anyway,
I don't think I showed you guys this. Dumont Royal Sovereign. I do not know if the picture tube is any good, but
measure the output with a dual tray scope.
30-inch picture tube.
That was one of them. It was built balanced out, but he built it out of wood and masonite and stuff. And this is looking up at his end. But this is mine. This is the way mine works on the fence. This is the coax coming in. There's the output of my dipole that runs along the fence, which is terribly imbalanced. You know.
Thought I lost my camera. I left it in the workshop overnight. Left it on. Luckily, I remembered to bring my charger.
But what happened?
I didn't even what happens to the current on each arm of the antenna.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is what happens when you push the rebalance button. Of course it gets because it's
Hey, Bob.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good.
Oh, you doing a YouTube video?
I'm just walking around, just trying to get some content.
Cool.
The shaky cam.
You bet.
It's basically just killing time until I do my presentation at 2.
Yeah. Yep. I'll be here for it.
Ask questions.
Yep.
There's a little set that's on with that's the hoodie.
You can video me sweating my ass off.
But you can't hear it.
Yeah, it's a little little stuffy.
I'm going to.
And there's the museum's Royal Sovereign, which used to work. Maybe one of these events we'll poke around and try to get it working again. Ah, and they do have, if you guys remember last year, I got one of these little Bakelite Philcos. A little bit rougher than this one. Mine has some holes on the top, and I was wondering if they were original or not. Well, this does not have them, so I said, no, those holes should not be there on mine. Oh yeah, and there's a Garod here, a tabletop version of the console that I've been working on.
Understate that first setup day was your travel and set up your stuff the next morning.
There we go. So,
Wow, they really are dragging out the old diamond.
Yeah.
this is the same chassis as that console set.
Yeah, I figure I better come
15-inch
again because
thing.
I might be dead before the next one.
Well, you can, yeah.
Very
How
strange
you
dial
doing?
arrangement. So this is the radio, little dial pointer.
Are they equipped to
Tune it.
register or?
I didn't see it. I was out
And this
there.
should change with the channel
Nobody up
changer,
there,
but the
so-
dial cord broke. I guess it's a 10-inch. Yeah.
So I got a thing that I haven't followed up yet about 15.
The funny thing is, I'm not a gamer. My wife's the gamer.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer either.
I never was
And
a buddy when I was
there is a new
going to school. in
Yeah.
Illinois. He could get like 1,000,000 points on patch.
camera charge.
Quarter, so.
So new display.
This is probably my favorite display in the whole place.
Right.
This is a 1975 home Pong. Came out by Sears Telegames, actually designed by Atari, but released through Sears because Atari did not yet have their own retail distribution network, no name recognition.
Right. I think I seen that Atari in one of our department stores back in '75 or
Yep.
so.
Yep.
If I recall, it was like $150 for it.
Yeah, they were expensive. This thing contains, at the time, in 1975, the most powerful microchip in any consumer electronic device in the world.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I've got this paired with a 1975 GE Portacolor, which I just love this pairing because the GE Portacolor is widely considered the last all-tube consumer electronics device. They sold these up until 1980.
Yeah.
So here we have the transition of the eras, the first
Right.
consumer high-density microchip up with the end of the tube era,
Right.
all in the same year.
Yeah, they played that in the department store. I got 40
Any luck? I'm guessing yes.
Got a full raster back.
What'd you do? Really?
Yeah, that's a bad too. The one that was in there was bad, the 6N7. Yeah, as soon as I swapped it, I got full deflection.
Excellent.
And I swapped it back to make sure. Yeah. But we got no signal now. It's back to where it was last October when Matt was working. Matt
Yeah,
Sorry was
I
working.
remember.
No signal. Yeah.
He got it working, but it didn't look like it was working great,
Yeah.
as I recall.
This raster is a little bit brighter than that CRT.
And I recall that tuner it's been tinkered with a lot.
Yeah, it's a mess inside, yeah. So, but at least we're back to a full raster now. I gotta go tell Steve.
Cool. Nice job.
So the best, we had two possible CRTs. This one and there's another one laying back there.
Yeah.
The one that by far has the brightest and best picture is the one back there, green phosphor.
Oh, yeah.
So they
5
go-
BP4, right?
I think so, yeah.
I got one kicking around at home.
Yeah.
I got no use for. I should bring here.
This is what, AP4. I think
Oh.
these are 5 AP4s,
Oh, I
I think,
got-
not
I
BPs.
got-
Yeah.
Hey guys, let me get you up to speed. So, did the whole presentation, installed a new 16 LP4, but it was sticking out a bit. Things didn't line up, so we had our knee. One of us was always bracing the back so it wouldn't just fall out of the set. But we got to the presentation; it looked pretty good. We were going to button everything up. Took the pitch tube in and out a couple times. We had to modify the mounting board, and we noticed something was rattling around inside, and the screen face did not look so good. Turns out that when it was rebuilt, probably, there was some debris inside. And it's been scratching the heck out of the phosphor. So went into the back room and found another 16 LP4, new old stock, rebuild. We're going to put that one in. has a tinted glass face, so it's a little bit gray. But hopefully, we've been working on this off and on for quite a while now. I think we're in the home stretch.
What is that?
All right. The new picture tube has been installed. Tweaked geometry. Seems to be working pretty good. We are all beyond exhausted. A little bit of audio. I gotta just tweak the connector in it, and then I'm calling this done.
Okay, anyone does want to vote?
Hey guys, this is Saturday, the main day of the event, and the weather's terrible. The forecast was bad for all 3 days that I've been here, but we got lucky the last 2 days, not today, which is really going to put a damper on the outdoor swap meet. But I saw a lot of people showing up yesterday, so it should be a good crowd, and we'll just hang out inside all day. It has just been pouring rain all day. Presentations are going on right now. Meanwhile, these two guys have been struggling mightily to align this cool automatic 7-inch porthole set. Simplest IF alignment instructions I've ever seen. It's 2 steps. You just peak one stage for one frequency, another stage for another frequency, and that should be it. Problem is, none of this equipment is working properly. So we're on, I think, our 3rd sleep generator at this point.
It's for sale.
If you guys remember, I restored one of the Hickok 615 ages ago.
That helps. That's pretty.
Looks like it's actually doing something. And that's what we're trying to align. They're trying to align. I'm just watching. It only has around a 2.25 megahertz bandwidth. It's a really crude design. But when things were working a while ago, it looked like the alignment was off quite badly, and the picture didn't look very good, so we're really anxious to see will an alignment improve things. It should. Meanwhile, the auction did happen. I didn't bid on anything. Most things of interest, I can't show them to you now because there's a presentation going on out there. There's a CTC 7 that went for 500, and a CTC 4 that I think went for 650, something like that. Anyways, I was walking around and I saw this, so that's my one major purchase so far. I'll hang that up in the workshop. It does have a crack down the middle, so I got it for a bit of a discount. But when it's illuminated, you really don't see it, so I'm happy with it. Hey, Shant. Finally home. Hours later than I thought I'd be home, because I stopped by the museum Sunday morning to say goodbyes and pick up something, and went to get back in my car, so I had a flat tire. A tire that I had just gotten new installed about 5 days ago. Nice screw stuck right in it, so I had to hunt down a place that could patch it and wait, and then it rained and traffic was horrible and all the usual stuff. But anyways, finally home. I didn't buy very much, partly because I've been lucky. I have just about everything. I mean, I don't have enough space and I don't have enough time, so I didn't even bid on anything. There were some cool things, color roundies especially. I didn't record any of the auction footage, but it is, or will be, all online, I do believe. The main stars were the color sets, the color roundies, CTC 4, a 5, and a 7. Also some pre-war stuff. It was a rather interesting auction. Now, so what did I get? Well, a sign. So this is, well, obviously an RCA television radio service sign. This is going to go in my workshop. I'll find an appropriate place to put it. It is illuminated. Also has a crack down the middle, but it's not that noticeable, and quite frankly, if it was pristine, it would have cost a lot more money than I think it would have been willing to spend, so I am ecstatic to have it. I like the early RCA logo. It's hard to get these earlier signs. So that was the big prize from the convention I also, when I went back Sunday morning and chatted with the guys in the workshop, they suggested I take this home with me. So I'm sorry, some of you I know I found out later were looking for me and couldn't find me at the convention. I spent most of it in the workshop. There's a workshop on the back with test equipment, and we were working on sets. A couple in particular were rather troublesome. And it was very much exacerbated by the fact that a lot of the equipment in the workshop wasn't working properly. We were trying to align a set. We went through 4 sweep generators or generators of various types. None of them worked properly. One was for a while, then it stopped. The others we just couldn't get to work right. So one, I'll try to donate one of my sweep gens. I have a Wave Tech that needs some repairs. If I can get it working, I'll donate that. Now this was in the museum. You may recognize it because I have one. So it's a big Wave Tech XY monitor, which is awesome for doing alignment because it's a nice big display, especially when you have multiple people, you're doing a demonstration at the convention, people can really see it. But it's seen better days. Now since I have a working one, it was suggested that, hey, you can compare it to yours, and if there's any issues, so, compare and contrast. Somebody put some tape on here and put some marks on it. I think they marked some frequencies for something. I'm going to take all that off. The cabinet's filthy, missing some screws. We'll do all that cosmetic stuff, and then we'll get into the electronics in a separate video. As I mentioned, I got this service order. A number of you suggested I save a page so I can reproduce more. Well, it turns out the guy I got this from has a bunch more, so not that concerning. Quite frankly, I only restore a few sets a year, so even with this pad, this will last me years. So I tease this. So what is this? I will tell you what I know from flipping through it briefly. We'll explore it further in a separate video. So, this was put out by Sheldon. I recently got a Sheldon poster. They made picture tubes. I got a poster of their 19AP4 a few weeks back. So I saw this from the same guy I got that sign at. He always does interesting stuff. I saw this and I didn't know what the heck it was, and that's why I was intrigued by it. Tioga tube and adapter saves TV picture tube and set. That seems awfully vague, doesn't it? An outstanding achievement in TV picture tube and set protection. If you read further, you finally see what it might actually do. Prevents scanning voltage burns on screen. Prevents uncontrolled peak voltage surges as high as 30,000 volts. Cuts service calls. Made by the manufacturers of Sheldon telegenic picture tubes. So maybe there is a parent company to both. Oh, here we go. Sheldon Electric Company, division of Allied Electric Products Incorporated, Irvington, 11, New Jersey. So Allied was the parent company, and they own both Sheldon and I guess Tioga. So some of you, well, first let's take a look at what's in here. So you get a plug, octal socket, and a tube. And some of you asked me when I showed a picture, well, what's a tube designator? Well, it says Sheldon on one side and Tioga on the other, and made in USA. That's it. There is no tube number. Some of you did a little research and Googled Tioga and found a description. Yeah, there is a pretty good one online that describes this tube's function. If you look at it, you can see there what looks to be a contact and a coil and the thing over the coil, and like a disc at top. Sure looks like a thermal relay, doesn't it? And yeah, that's basically what it is, but I believe there are 2 thermal elements in there. Now, what I don't fully understand is what problem are they trying to solve, and how exactly does it work? I'll tell you what I know from reading through the documentation. First off, this is how it goes. The Tioga tube plugs into this. You attach this somewhere convenient in the cabinet where it's away from stuff. This goes into the horizontal output tube socket. You pull out the horizontal output tube, you stick this into the socket, you stick the tube into that. So the horizontal output tube base sends some signals, some voltages over to this. So I believe the way this works is when you turn a set on, this blocks, I think, the plate voltage, no, the plate's on the cap, it blocks the grid voltage until the filament power going through here heats up that element and closes the contact. What I don't get is, how does that solve these problems it's talking about? So that's just it's a thermal delay on the horizontal output tube, meaning that it will delay putting high voltage on the picture tube until the tube is warmed up. Okay, I wasn't aware that was a problem. What I thought it was going to solve when I first saw it is when you turn off a set, the image collapses to a dot. Now with some sets, that dot is really small and really brilliant, and from it collapsing again and again and again and again to the same spot, it starts to damage the phosphor. Even on aluminized tubes, I've seen them where there's a black dot that burned right through it. I thought this was going to fix that. In other words, when there's no sweep, or when the sweep collapses, kill the high voltage. But this doesn't do that. So when they talk about, well, I'll just read it to you. It prolongs the life of the cathode ray tube in any TV set. That sounds like an awfully vague claim. How is it going to do that just by delaying the high voltage? I think they're talking about maybe stripping the cathode or damaging it by having high voltage before the CRT is warmed up. However, the horizontal output tube and the horizontal oscillator tube have to warm up as well. That's why I'm wondering, is that really an issue? Because there's not going to be any high voltage really until all the tubes are warmed up. Because they're not talking about solid state sets. This only works on a small range of black and white sets, by the way, because it has to have one of 4 tubes to plug into the horizontal output tube socket. I'll show those in a moment. It prevents destructive point emissions from the cathode of the picture tube due to abnormal current drain by delaying the application of high voltages until the cathode reaches operating temperature. So just reiterating what I just said, that it's preventing the horizontal output tube from oscillator, from powering the flyback until things warm up. This is one I don't understand how it can do it. It prevents uncontrolled high voltage surges as high as 30,000 volts from damaging set components. How is that happening? So say it's warmed up and this is making contact, and there's a surge for some reason that makes the high voltage spike up, because nothing in here is interrupting the high voltage rectifier or the high voltage going to the picture tube. The only interaction this has is with the horizontal output tube. All I can figure is one of these is going to be the grid voltage, and if it sees something abnormal about that waveform, it does something. However, I don't think there are any components in this base. I think this is just a relay. It's either on or it's off. So how does it detect that there's a surge in high voltage? That's what I don't understand. All these other things. Prevents resistors from being overloaded. What resistors? Where and how? That to me really makes no sense. It prevents scanning burns on the screen caused when scanning voltages lag behind picture tube voltages. When I talk about scanning, they're talking about the raster, or the horizontal and vertical drive. I think they're just sort of restating, I think points 1, 2, and 5 and 3 are basically all just the same thing said in a different manner. It offers protection to the high voltage circuits by preventing overloads which cause major breakdowns and costly repairs involving blah blah blah. I think, again, they're just repeating the previous points in a different way. It prevents high frequency vibrations in the tube's gun and set components during the warm-up period. I've never heard of that. But really, I think all this is a delay. It's like putting a thermistor well, okay, that's not quite fair. Putting a delay relay on the horizontal output tube. Now, you've never seen one, right? I've never seen one. No one else at the convention has ever seen one. So I'm guessing it really wasn't a big hit. Otherwise, not only would this have sold well and we would have heard of it, but manufacturers would have started incorporating that into the set in the first place. So I don't know about any of this. But we can certainly set it up and see if it does anything. I can't test the tube. I don't know if it's good, but this is how it goes. So this is one of their possible mounting positions. Oh, they do have different adapters for different tubes. Ooh, what model do I have? That would be an issue because almost every set I work on is a 6BG6. So I would need model 1. Also, I do some 6CD6s. Does this have a number on it anywhere? I'll have to poke around and see which one do I actually have before I go plugging it into a set. Let me back up. They show 3 different ways of installing this. Alrighty, this is the setup that I'm most familiar with. We have a horizontal output tube inside the high voltage box. You put the Tioga tube on top of the high voltage cage, run some wires down, and that's where you plug it into the horizontal output tube. And that's all you do. Well, I admit I did skip over the introductory paragraphs and right to the technical stuff. They do seem to explain why they think it will help. So let's take a quick read. When any television set is turned on, the cathode in the picture tube gets hot in spots before the entire oxide-coated surface of the cathode uniformly reaches its normal operating temperature. This coating is the source of light for the tube. Well, that's a simplified way of putting it. So they seem to indicate here that not having a uniformly heated cathode is a problem, because they go on to say, in every TV set the high voltage is applied to the plate which surrounds the cathode while the emissive material is being heated up. As a result, there are heated spots in the cathode which are chipped off prematurely as they take the full load of the applied current designed to operate only when the entire emissive surface is heated up. I think they're exaggerating that a bit. And what they're calling the plate, I assume, is what we think of as G2, which is part of the gun assembly. So you've got your filament, your cathode sleeve, a grid, aperture, and then what they're calling the plate. G2 is like an accelerating anode, focusing anode. Now often in sets that's derived from the boost voltage, which you're not going to get until the horizontal circuit tubes have all warmed up and started oscillating. So I'm a little skeptical about there really being a big difference between that plate voltage and the CRT cathode heating up. Anyways, to prevent this picture, a Tioga tube was developed. This invention delays the application of high voltage to the picture tube and the components until the picture tube has reached normal operating temperature. So it's a thermal delay relay. And they're saying that having voltage on G2 before the cathode is uniformly heated is a big problem and is going to damage your picture tube and shorten its life. Again, I'm highly skeptical of that, but that's what this is all about. Now, when I say I'll give it a try, we can, but I don't think we're going to notice a darn bit of difference. Be interesting, though, if this clicks or something. I guess it'd be like a Dumont set with that delay relay, where the screen is blank until everything's warmed up, and then it clicks on and applies a B+ to everything, and then the picture just typically appears, so it might kind of have that effect. So, we'll give it a try. Now, this is the only one I've ever seen. It's probably the only one I'm ever going to see, so I wouldn't want to put this in a set because, well, kind of a nice shelf display item, so that's where it's going to end up eventually. Only other thing I picked up was a 6AL7 GT and a couple other tubes, just some common tubes that I thought I might have a use for in the future. And one of my fans gifted me a few things in exchange for some advice. Now, the other big treat for you guys. So I'd been talking about touring the picture tube rebuilding room. And I did look around, as I mentioned earlier in this video. I took a stab at doing a tour of the equipment in more detail, and very quickly realized I only had a very vague idea of what the different stations were for and what the equipment was for. And I recorded it and stumbled my way through. However, right after I did that, a friend of mine tracked down a man who was far more familiar with the equipment, and he did an excellent presentation, which I'm going to edit down and post in a separate video, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. We'll be talking a lot more about picture tube rebuilding in the future. There was a lot of interest about it there. A lot of the conversation surrounded it. I'll also, the Garod tune-up new picture tube installation was all recorded, but it did not include the aftermath, which was several more hours of, man, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not in the earlier video, but the 16 LP4 we installed during the demo and said, hey, we got it all wrapped up, we're going to put it on display. That picture tube was damaged, and we had to remove it and install a different one and modify the mounting and secure everything, and that took hours. So that was on Friday. We spent all of Friday afternoon working on that Garod, and then spent all of Saturday in the lab struggling with non-functioning test equipment. So that's where I was hiding out during most of the convention. There will be a swap meet in the fall. It's usually in October. I don't think the date has been announced yet. And that's when the raffle winners will be announced. Or if you recall, there was a Dumont Royal Sovereign with a good 30 BP4 in the raffle, a CTC5 out of the museum's collection, which I think may be restored, and there was an other TV. I can't remember the type. It was a black and white set, I believe. It was a photo on the stage. So that's what's coming up in the fall, and then of course there'll be another convention next spring, and a lot of ideas have been thrown around for what to do next year. Try to mix it up every year as the convention evolves, but there has definitely been interest in having myself or another guest star or two try to get a set working in real time up on stage while you all watch and ask any questions. So that may happen next year. We shall see. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.